I was just coming from having my hair done and my makeup professionally applied. I was looking good, and I knew it. As I turned onto my street, I saw 3 cars in my driveway along with a police cruiser. What the hell is going on? My mind is going 100 miles an hour. First, I need to contact my boyfriend and tell him to wait until I get this straightened out before he shows up. Second, I'm thinking maybe there has been an accident at one of my husband's job sites, and he is dead. That would explain the squad car. I need to put on my concerned face and not the disappointed face of having to miss my date with my lover. I park and rush into the house. I saw Tony Green, my husband's lawyer. He wrote my prenup that my father-in-law had insisted on before he would agree to my marriage with his son. You see, he thought I was just a gold-digging waitress who wanted to marry a rich man. He was sure I would cheat on his son, who had only one serious girlfriend his whole life and was suffering from depression over her death. He was only partially right. I was looking for a husband, and a rich one. Why? Because I was raised poor, that's why. I had worked as a waitress since I graduated high school, and I saw myself waiting tables for the rest of my life. I wanted something different. Meeting Randy was just a stroke of luck. He was in the restaurant and looking so depressed. I asked why. He told me the story, and I cried with him. I asked him out, and he accepted. Things worked out, and we were married 6 months later. But his old man never accepted that I loved him for anything more than his money. He threatened to cut him out of the will and fire him from the construction company if I did not sign the prenup. So I signed, and why the hell not? This family was super rich. I would have everything I dreamed of and more. All I had to do was not have anybody else. Not a big deal, since I was not a cheating woman. Not a virgin, but certainly not a cheating woman. Things worked out very nicely for me for the next 5 years. We bought a big house. Hell, some would call it a mansion. It had a swimming pool, tennis court, and an indoor gym. Of course, we were members of the country club. I had a new car of my choosing every year. I used his credit cards to buy everything I wanted, and I mean everything. All the fancy shoes and the classiest of clothes. My husband was always buying me trinkets. That was his word for the diamond bracelets, earrings, or necklaces he bought for me. He had installed a cold room in the back of my closet to keep my fur coats from shedding. I did not know how to play tennis, so he hired a woman tennis pro from the club to give me lessons. I had a personal trainer twice a week to help me keep in shape. I had a maid service clean the house on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I rarely cooked. We ate out a lot. To say my life was perfect was an understatement. About 6 months ago, I had my girlfriends over for a tennis match and lunch afterward. As we sat in the shade by the pool, one of them, Judy, started talking about how her husband had caught her with her lover, a black man. It had taken a lot of convincing, but he had forgiven her. Another of the women asked, why a black man? Judy explained that he was her pool boy. She had watched him for months and had fantasized about being with a black man. One day, she lay by the pool while he cleaned it. As he finished and was putting away the equipment, she asked him to rub oil on her back. He did, and one thing led to another, and before long he was having intimacy with her. They had done it 2 times that afternoon and never went into the house. She said it was the most amazing time of her life. The contrast of his black skin and her white skin, the cheating on her husband, the doing it outside, whatever it was, it had excited her more than anything she had ever experienced. He cleaned the pool every week for a month. Every time it was the same for her. It was the 4th time that they were together that her husband caught her. He fired the pool boy's company, which got the young man fired. She had to beg and cry, but she convinced him it was only a fling and nothing more than intimacy. No love, no threat to their marriage. He agreed and forgave her when she promised it would never happen again. That is when Nancy spoke up and said she knew how Judy felt. In college, she had started dating a black football player. He was not much of a student, so she helped him with his studies. One thing led to another, and she found herself enjoying the bed with him. She knew that she was not going to marry him or even continue to see him much longer, but she loved the time. As Judy had said, it was the skin contrast, the taboo. Whatever it was, it led to an amazing time. It ended when he finally flunked out and lost his scholarship. Then Linda started. She said they were all luckier than her. She met a black man during her freshman year. He was a senior, and he was on the basketball team. She fell in love with him, and she thought he was in love with her. She was a natural blonde, and he seemed to love the way she looked. Like the others, the skin contrast drove her wild, but she thinks his tool excited her most about him. One night, he invited her to his friend's apartment where there was going to be a party. She went thinking she should meet his friends. She ended up being the only girl there, and she thinks they put something in her drink. Why else would she let all 5 of those black guys have her? She woke up back at her dorm, but it was all over campus what she had done. It was near the end of the semester, and she stayed until after finals. She had to put up with everyone asking if she enjoyed it. At Christmas break, she convinced her parents she wanted to change schools, and she never went back. All my girlfriends had tasted a black man. I never had. I started having these fantasies when I was with my husband. I thought of him as a black man and how it might feel. I imagined his tool, which had always been enough for me, as a black tool. I just could not get those thoughts out of my mind. My car lease was up the next month. I told my husband I was thinking about not getting another BMW, but that I wanted a Lexus. He told me to just go pick out what I wanted, and he would handle it for me. That's when it started. As I walked into the Lexus dealership, a very good-looking young black man asked if he could help me. He shook my hand and held it a little too long as he told me his name was Jason Williams and he was at my service. I held his hand and told him I was Sue Taylor. He guided me around the showroom, touching my shoulder and my arm as he pointed out the various models. He opened the driver's door of one, and as I sat down, he commented on how good I looked in that silver car. I saw him notice my legs, and I pulled my dress up a little to show more. When he helped me out of the car, I was excited. I started asking about lease options, and he took me into his sales manager's office. I did not like that man. He looked at me like I was a piece of meat. He actually licked his lips as he stared at me. He sent Jason out to get some paperwork and told him to shut the door when he left. I was uncomfortable, to say the least. "He's our token. You know what I mean?" I did not understand. I guess he saw the look of confusion on my face. "The token black on the sales force. We have blacks that work back in the service area, but he is the only one on the sales force, and he is not long for the job. Most people don't like dealing with him. He has been here 6 months and still is not very knowledgeable about cars." About that time, Jason came back in, and I told them both that I would have my husband contact them about the car I had chosen. Jason walked me to the front door and handed me his card. He said that if I had any questions, I should give him a call. I almost started to give him a kiss on the cheek, but I did not. I just took his hand and squeezed it. The next day, I was a nervous wreck. I had his card. I had his phone number. Could I do this? At about 11 a.m., I gave in. I called Jason and told him I wanted to talk about the car, but not at the dealership. I did not like his manager. Could he meet me for lunch? Of course he could, and we decided to meet at a steakhouse in town. I dressed to kill. I wanted him to know that I was more interested in him than the car. We had a great lunch. We did not talk about the car. Instead, I maneuvered the conversation to find out about him. He was single and lived with his mother and sister. He paid the rent, and he was helping his sister pay her way through nursing school. He really liked working at the dealership, but was having a rough time getting the hang of selling luxury cars to mainly white people. He really needed to make a sale this week since their rent was due, and his sister needed some money for her tuition. Today was Wednesday, and the maids were cleaning my house. But tomorrow, no one will be there. I asked if he could stop by around noon and bring me some brochures on the car. As I said this, I looked into his eyes and squeezed his hand. I was sure he got the message. He told me he really did not need to be away from the dealership for too long, because he might miss a sale, and he really needed that $500 commission. I told him not to worry about his rent. I would take care of that if he took care of me. That was about as plain as I could make it. He grinned and asked what time he should be there. The next morning at 11 a.m., he was right on time. I met him at the front door in a black negligee with attached garters and fishnet hose. I had on my highest high-heeled pumps and candy-red lipstick. No doubt about what I wanted. He did not disappoint me. His body was naturally chiseled. I lay on the bed watching him get dressed and thinking about what I had been missing. It was everything my girlfriends had said. The skin contrast, he is very black, not chocolate-colored, but a deep, shiny black, the taboo, and the cheating on my husband. As he dressed, he said he really wished he had more time, but he needed to get back. I got up off the bed and went to my purse. I got 5 $100 bills out of my wallet and handed them to him. "Can we do this again next week? Same time? Same day?" He looked at the money and said, "It's a date." That's how all this got started. I have been seeing Jason every Tuesday and Thursday for the last 3 weeks. Today was supposed to be the next time, but now all these people are in my house. When I entered, Tony Green told me I had better sit down. Randy, my husband, had fallen off a ladder at work 3 weeks ago and had been seeing a doctor. I had talked to his doctor and was told he should not be going to a job site until he was healed. He was also not to have intimacy or even get excited about it. His insides were badly swollen. This had happened the first day Jason had me. Thank God I had found Jason, or I would be climbing the walls. I was used to having intimacy 4 or 5 times a week. Seeing Jason twice a week, always on Tuesday and Thursday, had kept me more than satisfied. I had been very careful about this affair. No one suspected a thing. As I sat in one of my comfortable chairs, I was prepared to hear the worst. I just knew that Randy had fallen to his death. I was surprised when Tony handed me a set of divorce papers. "You have been served." He pointed out that there was also a restraining order preventing me from going to Randy's office or even coming within 1,000 feet of him. Also, the prenup was being enforced. I had 30 minutes to pack my suitcase and leave. The woman police officer was there to accompany me upstairs and watch me pack. I was in shock. I told him this must be a mistake. He showed me pictures of me handing Jason money. I started to explain. I told him I was just helping Jason with his sister's tuition and his mother's rent. The police officer said that Jason had been arrested this morning on prostitution charges. The district attorney was considering pressing charges against me for soliciting him, but I needed to hurry. My time to pack was running out. I stumbled upstairs trying to think. I know I need to talk to Randy. He will see it was nothing, just a fling. We can get by this. But I need to get some things out of my closet. I got the biggest suitcase we had and went into my closet. I gathered a few dresses and went back to get my hidden stash of money. My just-in-case things go to hell money. Over the last few years, I had squirreled away about $50,000 in cash. I had it hidden in a couple of shoe boxes in the back of the closet. They were not there. I got a real sinking feeling. Then I went to the safe where I kept my trinkets, the diamonds that Randy had given me. In the safe was a bunch of worthless costume jewelry. I thought I was going to be sick. On to the cold room, I'll take my furs. I punched in the code to open the door, and it showed an error. Again, error. The code had been changed. The policewoman says time is about up and asks if I want anything else. I ran to the dresser and pulled out a couple of drawers with my underwear. I dumped them in the suitcase and run into the bathroom and grab what makeup I can. I had to sit on the suitcase to get closed. The policewoman did not offer to help me carry it down the stairs. Tony hands me my set of papers and says I need to get an attorney to represent me in the divorce. There is a meeting tomorrow morning in his office at 10 a.m. He tells me all the company credit cards with my name on them have been canceled, but that Randy wanted me to have this. He handed me an envelope. It had $1,000 in it. He tells me I can keep my BMW until the end of the month, but the lease on it will not be renewed. I leave and go to a cheap motel. I found an attorney in the Yellow Pages that could see me that afternoon. In his office, I told him how all this was a mistake. I have been taken advantage of by a slick black con man who led me to believe that I was helping a poor family. And no, I had never had intimacy with him. I did meet him a couple of times at a restaurant, but it was to discuss leasing a car. Nothing more. He assured me he would work all this out the next morning at the meeting. This attorney said that I should not worry. It was just a big misunderstanding and my husband had jumped to the wrong conclusions. I assured him he had. There was no way they could prove I had slept with Jason. Just that I had had lunch with him twice over the past weeks. I thought I looked good that next morning. I had on one of my better dresses, low cut in front, and short above the knee hemline. I met my attorney outside Tony's office. He commented on how beautiful I looked as we went in. I wanted my husband to see what he would be missing if he went ahead with the divorce. We were led to the conference room. There were some people in there that I did not know. As I was being introduced, one man sounded familiar. When I shook his hand, he smiled and said, "We have talked on the phone. My name is Sam Gibbs. My friends call me Doc. I was a Navy corpsman." "You're the doctor that I called and was told that Randy had been hurt." He just smiled and sat down. Randy was nowhere to be seen. I was told that he had chosen not to come to this meeting. My attorney started to explain my side of the story and how I had been duped. When he said I had never had intimacy with Jason, Doc Gibbs picked up a remote and a television screen at the back of the room came to life. It showed me having intimacy with Jason. All the while, I was screaming how much I loved it and for him to be harder. The last screen was me handing him $500 and telling him I wanted to see him the next Thursday. My attorney looked at me but asked Tony what they were offering. Tony handed him a couple of pieces of paper and he read over them. He handed them to me and said, "I suggest you sign it." He got up and left the room. I caught him in the hall. "Can't we fight this? I don't want a divorce," I asked. "You should have thought about that before you started with that guy. He has probably made bail by now and left the state. I doubt that you will be charged with soliciting. Those 5 minutes of video they showed us are just a sample taken from the hours they have of you with that black guy. There is no way you will break that prenup. Tony is one of the best lawyers in the state, and I have never heard of any of his work being thrown out. My advice is to take the $1,000 a month alimony for 1 year and start a new life. Before I forget, never lie to your attorney." He then turned and walked out the door. I went back into the conference room and signed the papers. Tony told me the payments would start when the divorce was official. I left and started my new life. From the perspective of Randy. Now you are wondering how I knew about my wife and her black lover from the very first day. It was by pure accident, a little luck, and a man who liked to brag about his conquests. Remember how Jason had to get back to work that first day and rushed off after Sue paid him? He was in trouble with his boss, the sales manager. He was late getting back from his lunch break and had tried to sneak back in without being seen. He went into the back where a couple of the black service techs were finishing up their lunch. He sat at the table with them and immediately started talking about his latest conquest. Some rich woman named Sue. One of the techs asked when he was going to share her with him. He said to give him a month or so to get her broken in right. Then he would make her available to him, but for a price. Unknown to him, the sales manager had seen him come in and had followed him to the back. When he heard what the conversation was about, he went straight to the owner's office. He complained that he had suspected, but now he knew for sure that Jason was using his position as a salesman to make conquests on some of the female customers. "You know this one? Aren't you good friends with Randy Taylor? Well, it is his wife who Jason saw this morning." The owner, actually the owner's son, Bobby, who runs the dealership for his dad, told him not to say a word to Jason and that he would handle this problem. You should know that Bobby, Tony Green, Robert O'Shea, and I have all been friends since college. We all lived in the same frat house and graduated in the same class. No way was Bobby going to let this happen. He called Robert. who called Tony. Then they all called me on a conference call. We decided to meet at Robert's office at 4 p.m. that same day. After all the pleasantries and handshaking were over, we sat in the conference room. I loved my wife and had always been faithful. Maybe my father had been right about her after all, but I wanted more than just a conversation overheard in a break room before I threw away 5 years of marriage. Tony said he would need proof that would stand up in court to be able to enforce the prenup. Robert said that with my consent he could get all the proof I would need if, in fact, all this was true. I agreed that I wanted to know the truth, and that if it were true, I wanted this woman out of my life. I would not put up with a lying, cheating woman. Silently, I wondered how many times over the last 5 years she had played me for a fool. Sam Doc Gibbs was called into the meeting. Bobby gave him all the info he had on Jason, full name, address, and social security number. Sam left and returned in about 15 minutes. This guy is a piece of work. He has 2 different aliases. His mother died of AIDS 3 years ago. She had various charges of prostitution against her and had served time on 2 different occasions. He has a sister doing time in a women's prison in New York. She was convicted of prostitution and robbing her johns. He is living with a known prostitute who works at a strip club. She has quite a social media account. Jason is in many photos with her, and it looks like he goes both ways. She takes him with her when her johns want a 3-way. If he is having intimacy with your wife, I suggest you don't, at least until we know for sure. Too many diseases that do not have a cure to take a chance. Sam said I would need to get Sue out of the house for a couple of hours so his men could place cameras. That would not be a problem. Sue loves to go to the country club to eat dinner. So the house was wired, as Robert says, that night while we ate at the country club. Robert and his family were also there, and when it was safe to go home, he gave me the all-clear sign. At home, I begged off having intimacy as being too tired and having had a rough day. The next day, I had an accident at work. That night, I left a Dr. Sam Gibbs card on the table and asked Sue to call and get the results of the tests I had taken the day before. The call had been answered in the O'Shea Investigations war room. Sam had come to the phone and explained that I should not go to job sites for a month and that love was off the table. He did not even want me to get excited. I slept in the spare room. Robert called the next week and told me he had definite proof that my wife of 5 years was paying a male prostitute to have intimacy. He had informed Tony. It was decided that I should go to my parents' house in South Florida to handle a problem at the retirement community my father was developing. That got me out of the house and away from that cheating woman. She used her alone time to meet every Tuesday and Thursday with Jason. She always paid him, but it was just Jason. I guess she wasn't prepared enough for him to share her with others just yet. I did not go to any of the divorce meetings but let Tony handle that for me, and did not see Sue for almost 2 years. I met a red-haired girl who worked selling property at the retirement community in South Florida, and we started dating. A year later, I asked her to marry me. My father liked this one. He said she reminded him of my first girlfriend who had died in that car wreck many years before. The only similarity I could see was that they both have red hair. Again, he insisted on a prenup. I had sold the house where Sue and I had lived for so long. I never spent another night in it after I left her. Mary, my new wife, donated the furs to the church, and we moved on with our lives. Over the next few years, we had 3 kids. Life was wonderful, and I never looked back. Switching back to the perspective of Sue. I am so glad to hear that you and your red-haired woman have such a wonderful life. Let me tell you what my one little adventure in 5 years of marriage cost me. After signing the divorce papers, I found a cheap furnished apartment. It was horrible. The owner was an older lady who looked at me like I was a piece of meat, and she was hungry. Her fat 20-year-old son helped me with my suitcase and managed to grab my back. He told me to call anytime I needed anything. I found a job as a hostess at a restaurant. I took customers' coats and gave them a receipt. Then I escorted them to their table. I was rarely tipped, but at least I did not have to carry food to the tables and deal with all the nonsense waitresses do. I was barely getting by and the $1,000 alimony had not yet started. 2 weeks later, my BMW was hauled away. A waitress that I had befriended gave me the name of a buy here, pay here lot where the owner might help me get a car. He helped me all right. After having intimacy with him, I drove away in a 10-year-old junker. At least I was rolling again. I was broke and it was another 3 days to payday. This same friend told me about a way to earn a few extra bucks to tide me over. A short, fat man came into the restaurant and approached me. His comb-over was slipping and he looked greasy. He asked my name as he looked me up and down, then said, "Yeah, you'll do. Tomorrow night at the Marriott Hotel. I'll meet you in the lobby and take you to a room. There you will party with 3 of my clients, maybe 4 hours at the most. Afterward, I will pay you $500 cash." "What do I have to do?" I asked. "Anything they want. Most likely they will want you and probably at the same time. You are not to deny them anything, and if you do, you will not get paid. Do you understand?" I was broke. What could I do? The next night I did what they asked, but I got the $500 from the fat guy as I hobbled through the lobby. I forgot to bring the lube. But as bad as all that was with the hotel night and the car dealer, I think the worst was taking a coat one night from a young couple. It looked familiar, and as I hung it up, I noticed my initials in the lining. It was my red fox coat. As I walked them to the table, I commented on the coat, and she told me she had won it at a church raffle. A member of her church had donated it, along with a full-length mink and a mink jacket. Her husband's ex-wife had left them when they divorced. Her husband? Randy has remarried. Who is this person? I ask if she knows her. Not really. She is from out of town but came here to help when her husband sold the house. I saw her once. She is a very pretty red-haired girl. Can you imagine giving away those coats? I got a $3,000 coat for a $10 ticket. More like a $10,000 coat, I thought, but did not say it. I commented that it should be kept in a cold room so it would not shed. She said she kept it in a plastic bag in their chest freezer. I guess that might work also. I was about to cry when I noticed the fat guy with the combo waiting at my station. "Want to make another $500 tomorrow night?" "Sure. Why not?" "What do I have to do this time?" I asked. "Same as before. Hey, this time you better remember to bring plenty of lube. These guys are black. Will that be a problem? Them being black, I mean." "No, that's not a problem," I replied. About 4 years later, I saw Randy and his red-haired pregnant wife. They, along with their 2 babies, were checking into a hotel as I was leaving. I did not let them see me. I had a rough night. My client had tied me to a bed and used a whip on my back. I tried to scream, but the gag in my mouth did not let any sound out. After he had intimacy with me, he passed out and slept next to me tied on the bed. I cried most of the night. Then this morning he did again before he untied me and told me to get dressed and get out. I said I wanted to take a shower first, but he said to get out, or he would put me out in the hall naked and throw my clothes out the window. I hurriedly dressed and left the room. When I saw Randy checking in with his family, I ran crying to my piece of junk car. Thank God it started. Randy looked happy. I looked just like what I am, a poor, old, worn-out, cheating woman. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.